Hello, my little Luxxes. This is another episode of Luxxxy Charms, and I am your host, cosplayer Charsie Luxxx. And if you can't tell by my ensemble, that this is on theme with this month's theme of Dead Girl Summer. So, what are we going to be doing today for Dead Girl Summer? I'm going to be doing a movie review on a very cheesy, ridiculous, funny, B-rated horror movie, and this one is called Party Massacre. Doing a quick spoilers alert. If you have not seen this film, this is your warning right now that if you don't want any spoilers, you're going to want to turn this off. If you would like to watch the film before you do watch this, if you have not seen it, you can find it to stream on Tubi, and I believe you can also find it on YouTube to stream as well. And also a quick trigger warning, which when I feel like if you're doing a horror movie review, you shouldn't have to give a trigger warning due to the fact that it should come without saying, trigger warning, it's horror. You're gonna have blood, you're gonna have gore, you're gonna talk about kills. So, this is your trigger warning. Now, you would have seen me putting up posts online here recently. Well, I should say, if you've been around, because it's the summertime, a lot of people are busy. I've been noticing that not a lot of people have been on social media lately, but it's the summertime. You can go out, be in the pool, have some fun. But recently online, I had posted that me and a group of friends had watched Party Massacre. And this film was made back in 2017. And as always, I will go through, kind of give you the cast, a quick synopsis, then kind of give you an overview of the film, and kind of give some fun facts. There's not too many on them that I was able to research and find. Maybe I just wasn't diving in too deep about it, but this one's just a nice, fun horror film, and anybody that knows me, you know how much I love my ridiculous, cheesy films. And this one, of course, has a very low rating because most people try to put that high standard stamp on things, but we don't do that here. Quite obviously by my B-rated blood and gore on right now. But I wanted to, of course, go through the cast and crew, and as always, I apologize if I butcher any of their names. But we have Cameron LeVamp as the pool boy, Leanne Vamp as Mrs. Stevens, John Monero as Blair's dad, Sally Burnswellow as Blair's mom, Kristen Noel McCusick as Blair, Margot Neem as Nancy, Paul Card as Ralph, Drew Marvick as Blaine Withrop, and also Blair's brother. He's also the director and writer of this film. Jimmy Gross as Danny, Alexis Adams as Tiffany, Destiny Faith Nelson as Jasmine, Crystal Stoney as Brittany, Jennifer Marvick as Kelly, Mark Justice as Troy, and Nick Byer as Clay. And I strongly believe that Jennifer Marvick, who plays Kelly, I believe that she is married to Drew Marvick. I mean, it's not a common last name, and the fact that both these characters that are in the film that have the same last name as Marvick, I believe that they are a married couple. And they are not the only married couple in this film. Cameron LeVamp, that was the pool boy in the film, is married to Leanne Vamp, who was Mrs. Stevens. So I thought that that was pretty cool as well. And Leanne Vamp, I know, not on a personal level, but I know who she is because she is also a cosplayer. She's actually one of the cosplayers who got me into cosplay and being excited about it, because she used to be on a show called Cosplay Melee, where she was a host. And she's mostly well known for the fact that when she does her cosplays, because of her last name Vamp, she does the whole vampire thing. She'll wear vampire caps, and she'll have the whole fangs and everything along with her costumes. And a lot of people know her when she did her sexy version of Boba Fett. And so, well, I'm sure while I'm telling this, I am editing and I am popping up photos of Leanne so that you can see her yourself. But just kind of some tea, a little bit of drama that I can also give along with this one. I got the chance to, well, I should say, I had the opportunity that I could have met her while she was in Chicago for C2E2, and this would have been back in 2019. She was one of the hosts on the panels for some of the cosplay events, and of course being a guest there, that you had the chance to go and meet her and get her autograph photos. And I've done that in the past. I've met Ivy Doom Kitty, I've met Yaya Han, thanks to events like these where you can actually go and get the opportunity to meet them. And thought we were going to have the exact same thing with Leanne Vamp, that we were going to be able to meet her because she was at C2E2 2019. And we kept watching her area in the cosplay section where her setup was supposed to be. And went over there several times and kept looking for times and when she was supposed to be there for autographs and meet and greets, that kind of thing. And she was never there. So we started watching social media and trying to see when she would make announcements where she was going to be there. She would make posts about when she was going to be a part of the panels and that kind of stuff. And of course saying, I'm excited to meet you guys, this and that. And most of her posts was the fact that she wasn't really at the event. There was a huge amount of time that she was actually out in Chicago and going around, and she wasn't really at C2E2. So it was kind of disappointing that we didn't get to meet her, because she's one of the cosplayers that has inspired me, and it was very disappointing that she was never actually at her area. Even at times that it said that she was supposed to be there, we would go and we'd hover around it and she would never show up. I mean, I get it. You're in Chicago. She would go and she'll do the ghost tours and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, if you were a guest at a convention and especially if you have certain times set that you're supposed to be in an area for meet and greets, it probably would be better to actually do it. And if you're not going to be there, maybe make an announcement and just say, hey, some things came up, I'm not able to make it, I don't know, but I maybe I'm expecting too much, I don't know, but I mean, I still adore her, she's still a fantastic cosplayer. I really haven't seen too much of her lately, but anyway, that's a little bit of tea and gossip from me. Anyway, and I also kind of found it cool that towards the beginning of the film, where you're gonna see Nancy and Blair's character walking through the house and they're looking at family photos, there's a photo of her brother Blaine with his family. And I'd noticed in the credits that the kids also have the same last name as Drew, so I want to assume that those are their kids that are in the photos with them. So I think that's pretty cool that the family was a part of it, and I think his family had a huge part to do with helping with this film, so I think that's inspirational and really cool. Now to give my quick little synopsis of the film, just to kind of give you a quick overview of the whole thing, is that, make sure I don't cover my face with my notes. While her parents are going out of town, Blair decides to have some girlfriends over and throws a pool party. What starts off as a fun and relaxing day turns into a nightmare, as one by one, each of the partygoers starts to die off, and they are killed off by a mysterious assailant. Is it Nancy's brother holding a grudge against Blair? Or is it the creepy neighbor next door who keeps watching them? Who will it be? And who will be our final girl to save the day? Now, this one is one of those films where a lot of people have dubbed it that it stems back into tribute to the 80s, which my favorite genre of horror films is the 80s. There's just something so inspirational about that time frame when they started making horror films, and you had the huge influx of, especially for the slasher films. So this one, of course, is a slasher film as well. So of course it's going to be my favorite tribute to the 80s slasher films. And I've seen a few reviews on this one where they say that it's kind of a fun mashup between Mean Girls meets Camp Sleepaway. So I kind of see it. It's kind of a cool concept when you think about it, which a lot of people didn't really... I think it had a lot of low ratings, which I've had other reviews in the past where I've talked about this, where they have said that they didn't like the characters, that every single character was unlikable. Now, in my point of view, this is just my point of view, does not mean that you have to agree with me or anything like that, but I like Nancy's character. I think Nancy was supposed to be the only likable character, and the whole idea of Mean Girls, except that, you know, in Mean Girls, there's a moral to the story, and the girls are supposed to learn their lesson and stop being assholes, whereas in this one, instead of learning their lesson, they're killed off one by one. These are characters that you're not supposed to care about, you're not supposed to like, and that kind of stuff. And then you get stereotypes going on where you have the dumb bimbo blonde who doesn't have a clue what certain big words are. Like, for example, one of the words thrown at her is necrophilia, and she still has a response to it that is correct, but she literally says,
"Ew, I don't even know what that means."
So she was right in context with the ew, but when she says she doesn't even know what that means, it's one of those funny things where you're like, oh God, come on, you can't be that dumb that you have no idea what that is. You'll get this stereotypical, really bitchy girlfriend that puts all of her other friends down, and then you also have the other one that is just apparently a slut. They just throw all these stereotypes together, and you just have a mosh podge of a whole bunch of like toxic, irritating girls. And it's supposed to be a girls only event, but you have the one girl, Tiffany, who decides she wants her boyfriend Troy to come because, you know, they want to mess around and have some fun. And he drags along his very grotesque, annoying brother Clay, and you get the weirdness that ensues where Troy and Tiffany are off and they're having their sex adventure, and then you have Clay who's trying to hit on Brittany and anybody else that he can. Actually, he even tries doing this specialized line with Nancy's character, and I don't want to give it away. You should have to watch the film to see his epic fail of how he tries to compare Fight Club with Ferris Bueller's Day Out. Yeah, you'll have to see how he tries to tie those two films together. We have at least 11 deaths in this film, so there is a lot of kills in here. And something else that I appreciate in this one is that I'm going to dub it the Wall of Death. And in the garage, there's an entire tool shed and a whole setup of all the tools and everything along the wall. So the killer, as he is killing off people one by one, he is taking and using a new tool every single time. And you get to see as he goes and he uses the tool, and then he takes it and he puts it back. And each kill you get something different and hilarious. Since there's so many kills, like I said, there are 11 kills in this film. There might even be more, but the ones that are sticking in my brain when I was going through, I kept thinking of 11 of them. And 2 of them stick out in my head the most, that are my 2 favorite kills. Now, obviously, hopefully I said at the beginning of this that there are spoilers, so obviously if you haven't seen this film and you don't want to hear any of this, I'd close your ears right now just so you don't hear anything. But my two favorite kills in this film, obviously, are the ones that involve a drill during someone playing with themselves. And then also the kill that involves a weed whacker. Now, I'm not going to give away too full of details in that, but those are definitely my two favorite kills in the entire film. Now, to kind of do a quick fun overview of the film, that it starts off with the stereotypical someone who's not even related to anything in the film. You find out later that they're neighbors to Blair's character in that, and that you have Mrs. Stevens, who's trying so desperately and so hard to hit on the pool boy and get his attention, and well, instead they both end up dead and more dead. So you start off with those two kills, and you then move over to the scenery of where you are seeing Blair with her friend Nancy, and they are talking with her parents, and you are finding out that the parents are leaving for the weekend, and that while they're traveling away, they're allowing Blair, that she has permission to have this pool party and have her girlfriends over. But of course they're making fun of her, teasing her, basically saying how irresponsible she is, also making the joke that, well, they kind of blame themselves because, you know, she turned out the way that she did and such a disappointment. You can't make this stuff up. But then you have it to where they say, well, we're so glad your wonderful friend Nancy is here, and since she's here, we trust her, so we're going to allow you to have this party. Well, then you move into the scenario where you get to where the girlfriends show up, and you find out these are all very catty, very bitchy girls, that all of them are stuck up, they're rich, and not a single one of them has probably done a single chore in their entire life or has even had to like clean their own rooms. They're standing around talking about, how do you make this? Oh, well, we have hired help to help with that. Well, doesn't your dad own a bar? Don't you know how to make a drink? Yeah, but we hire people to make the drinks. So that kind of atmosphere, and they all compete with one another, where this one thinks they're better because of this, or this one thinks they're better because of this. And later on you even hear where the one's like, oh, well, why didn't we hang out at my house for a pool party, because my pool is bigger and my pool has a slide. And it just, the comparison and the cattiness, it just gets to the point where you're happy when these characters die. All of these kills are epic. It's another one of those films where I saw low reviews because they were saying they didn't like the characters. But it stems back to my review to the new Dreamcatcher, the fact that you're not supposed to like the characters, except for one, and that's Nancy's character. And she's honestly the only one that I did like, and she was the one that I was rooting for. So, yeah, that. But then you come to find out later on that Nancy had been friends with all of these girls, and that none of these girls could remember her, and you just keep moving through the storyline not liking any of these characters except for Nancy. And then you get to the scenario where the guys show up, and they're just as gross, and because Troy's very disrespectful to his girlfriend. Got the scenario where it got that they're supposed to be very kinky, that they're supposed to be into S&M and that kind of stuff, but he's also very disrespectful at the same time, because there's still limits and respect when it comes to that kind of relationship, that you have to have trust. And you can tell in this that he's just putting her down and degrading her, and you can tell she's not enjoying it at the part in the scene when it does happen. But then slowly you get to the scenario where both those characters die off anyways, and their kills are just as fun and epic as the rest of them. It's, like I said, I just have two that are my favorites, so one of those where I don't want to give too much away, because if you haven't seen the film, I would love for you to go and watch it, because now we can get to my thoughts with the movie. And obviously, I really love this film. I love stupid horror movies. Yes, this one is dumb, but it's not a bad film. It's done very well, and a lot of people would probably try to say that these characters were overacting. I don't think so. I think they all did a really great job, and they did a really great job of being unlikable characters. And so as we move into the fact of, yes, I recommend this film to anyone who appreciates bad, cheesy horror films, especially something that has a tribute to 80s slashers, which I had read some overviews, or I had read some reviews, especially on IMDb, where some of the people were saying that they appreciated the tribute to the 80s horror film, but they had wished that it kind of tied back with the 80s style when, you know, you had more characters that were relatable, ones that were likable. It's hard. I can understand where they were coming from and what they were saying, but at the same time, this was a film where it was definitely about the slasher. It was about the gore, it was about the kills, and seeing how many, especially like I said, the wall of death, the tool shed of death, that each tool had a different kill, and how epic could the next kill be compared to the next one. So you even find out from the killer later on that they want a kill count, and that they want to be famous and well known for their numbers. So it's a hard one for me, where it's like, yes, I 100% understand where some people were coming from, where they would want more relatable characters, likable characters. Because let's face it, a lot of us are not going to relate with these rich characters, especially ones that are so stuck up that they don't even know how to make a drink, let alone clean up that drink if they spill it. Wink, wink, hint, hint, that might happen in the film. And I kind of wanted to read from this one review that I saw, Pool Party Massacre review, and it was by Chris Cummings on Nerdly on June 11th of 2019, where he says, so if a movie opens with a cutthroat followed by an 8-bit video game style opening beneath the screams of punk rock, count me in. And I feel the exact same way, because like I said before, I'm a fan of Leanne Vamp. It's one of those hilarious, funny stories where the very first time I saw this film, in fact, my husband probably could even remember, it was me sitting there and her character comes on the screen and I'm like, I swear to God that that's Leanne Vamp. And then sure enough, when the credits come up and her name comes up, and I'm like, oh my God, I did recognize her. So that was also one of those funny things. Chris Cummings goes on to even say that 80s inspirations of Pool Party Massacre are evident from the outset. It never takes itself too seriously. It's part comedy and part shockingly horror, and it's a pile of fun. I've heard people mention it being like a 1980s slasher meshed with Mean Girls type high school flick, and I can see why. So if you appreciate 80s style slasher films where you can see all the mean girls get it in the end, I definitely recommend this film to anyone that will appreciate it. Obviously, if you don't like cheesy horror films, don't even bother. And I can definitely say that about my buddy DC, that he would have no interest in a film like this, that he would think it was stupid, so probably would make him mad. I want to thank you for joining me here on another Luxxxy Charms. I hope you enjoyed this movie review of Party Massacre, which was made in 2017 from Drew Marvick. And one of those fun slasher films that I get a kick out of it every single time I watch it. It's one of those movies that is just becoming a background film for me as well, that if I am in the middle of doing something like dishes or chores or cleaning, I like having that film on in the background. It's just one of those fun films that I enjoy and I personally like. So hopefully more people will come to like it and appreciate it. It can hopefully become a cult classic that others will come to know and love just as much as me and some of my friends that enjoy it as well. But you can find me on my Twitter for Charsie Luxxx with 3 X's. You can also find me on my Instagram for Charsie87. You can find me on my other YouTube channel with my friend DC for Little Channel of Horrors. And as always, I want to thank you for joining me and for being here with me, for giving me some of your time, especially during the valuable summertime for Dead Girl Summer. But most of us are out and about and enjoying the sunshine and just being happy to be outside. But thank you once again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your afternoon, the rest of your evening, the rest of your night. Whatever time of the day it is, I hope you have a great time. Bye. Which was made in 2017 by Drew Marvick. I hope I haven't been saying his name wrong the whole time. It's Drew Marvick. I think I should go walk around the neighborhood like this. I don't think my neighbors would notice or anything. I got completely done filming and went to get everything put away, and it hit me that I didn't give one of the few facts that I actually found out and learned was that even though this was set in the summertime and it appears to be hot and everything, this was filmed during the winter months. So there were actually days that they were below freezing. And even though it was filmed out in Las Vegas, apparently they still can get some cold weather and some cold days as well, especially in the desert at night. So one of those funny things that I wanted to bring up as my fun fact for the film, and I completely forgot to talk about it. So like I said, I'm kind of all over the place when I do these kind of reviews, so thanks for bearing with me. I was probably all over the place again. Yeah. We like being an impromptu here.